And here we go with a reasonable hand. Two lands, two drops, and then good four drops, so hopefully that'll be good enough. Kind of have a little bit of everything with this hand. Alright, suspending Riftbolt. Turn one. That seems pretty good for this hand, considering we have two of our life gain removal cards. And suspending Riftbolt turn one isn't even the greatest of starts. I mean, it's not Goblin Guide or Monastery Swift Spear, so we're pretty happy about that. Only thing not great is we don't have a red source that comes into play untapped, but I suppose beggars cannot be choosers. I think the correct play is just Helix this immediately. So we will Helix it immediately. The reason for doing that is we play around Skullcrack, and that's pretty much it. It's the safest play. This hand, we definitely want to be playing safe since we have a Ajani. And no point in trying to do our opponent damage, because that's not really how we're winning the game. Interesting. Opponent just passes. They should probably be casting their burn main phase. I think we're actually just going to wall here, though, since it helps against future Goblin Guides and Swift Spears. I mean, remanding is nice when they're stuck on 2 mana, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, like remanding a Boros Charm is good and all, but good and all. And then we'll just play Island, since we don't want to play Flooded Strand and deal ourselves a point if we can help it. Next turn, we can either Ajani minus or just Cryptic Command. Alright, opponent doing the same thing. So we'll just leave up Cryptic Command, play around Skullcrack, and Cryptic Command pretty much anything here. Definitely counter that. So we're just attempting to not die and finding an opening for Ajani. I mean, our opponent's draws get a lot worse as the game goes on, since pretty much all their creatures are pretty bad now. Lands aren't very good for them. If they happen to draw all burn from this point, it's not great for us. But it looks like that did not happen. Like, if our opponent just drew all burn and then Skullcracked when we tried to Ajani. So we can oust our own wall, we can oust Monastery Swift Spear. We're definitely going to Ajani. I think we're just ousting Swift Spear, since it's essentially a dead draw that they're going to draw, unless they draw sack land. Alright, so we'll do that to the face, and then immediately give our opponent back that life. Love this card, even though it may not be the best card in the world. Actually, I probably should have plus the Johnny. No, minusing if our opponent drew a sack land and then Boros Charmed. Yeah, probably plus it was the play, even though this is pretty much amazing as well. Pretty much amazing. Interesting, our opponent didn't kill a Johnny. That does not seem correct. Because, I mean, they're gonna have to kill it at some point, otherwise it just gains me more life. That might mean they have Skullcrack. Technically should have just played the land here first, since I would have retained priority anyways. This could just be Searing Blaze. No, it can't be Searing Blaze. It could have been Searing Blaze. Alright, we'll just remand that. And leave up Cryptic, I suppose. We do have to take damage to Cryptic, but if we're countering a Lightning Bolt and then minusing a Johnny, that just gives us, that's slightly profitable life total wise. So we'll go ahead and do it. And I think this was the turn we knew our opponent was drawing Swift Spear, so we didn't have to worry about them playing a land. Alright, that should be the game. Now we have snap on, snap on, snap off, snap on, snap off. The snapper. We have snap Helix, and our opponent is out of ways to cast spells. Alright, and we even drew another Spreading Seas. Look at that. So even if our opponent does draw a red source, kills a Johnny, we just get to Spreading Seas, Lightning Helix. Alright, they're still in it. Technically. Barely, technically. Alright, Johnny down. Another snapper. Good stuff. Good stuff. Poor opponent went from being stuck on 2 lands to stuck on 1 land. I could have considered Spreading Seas Mountain actually, since Tectonic Edge Tectonic Edge is now live if our opponent has another land, so that would have been alright. Alright, we can snap Oust if we need to on our own thing, or just snap Cryptics for days. I think I'll just snap Oust on a wall and leave up Cryptic. And ousting your own stuff is usually okay, because when you draw whatever you ousted, it's usually worth at least a card anyways, if you have plenty of mana. Like if you oust a Snapcaster or what have you. Counter target spell, return target Snapcaster, gain target infinite value. Alright, can just activate Colonnade twice here. Finish him off. Even Lightning Helix is not gonna be enough, since they would take a bunch of have to take a bunch of damage to cast it most of the time. Alright. Generally not a good sign for burn if they're hard casting Rift Bolt on Wall of Omens. Alright, we got lots of good stuff in the sideboard. Well, okay, not lots of good stuff, but we have 2 Lightning Helixes. So, question is, what do we want out of the mediocre cards? Because we have some room to fill here. Cryptic's okay. I mean, all of these cards are okay. It's just a matter of choosing the least bad of the 3. Probably want Cryptics, Jace, since just drawing more Lightning Helixes in a board stall is pretty good, or even plussing isn't that terrible. And Engineered Explosives. It's a way to kill Shrine of Burning Rage, and if our opponent like goes, actually Engineered is pretty good on the draw, because you can just put it on 1 if they play a 1-drop, and then they can't just play a bunch more 1-drops. So yeah. Maybe we want 1 remand. Probably on the play we would prefer to fit a remand in over something, but on the draw, remand is going to be pretty bad. Alright. Wow, this hand is great. Mostly because it has lightning helix. I mean, the rest of the hand is great, but if we were going to mold to 3, this would be the 3 we want. Alright, our opponent's mulliganing to 6, so they're going to need something pretty fantastic. The question is, do we oust a 1-drop? Answer is probably, even though it means we'll take 2 damage. I mean, if it's Goblin Guide, we save 2 damage. Let's see what we draw. If we draw a land here, okay, there's an oust. If we draw a land, this would prevent us from discarding. Alright. Get oust of my game, Goblin Guide, and then come back in 2 turns. Come back when you are not as effective. So Eidolon would be pretty good. We're probably just Lightning Helix and Eidolon, since it's not the greatest oust target. Alright, another Goblin Guide. This Goblin Guide on top. Explosives, not great. So opponent is going to draw a Goblin Guide. I think we just Lightning Helix. Safest play. If our opponent goes land, Goblin Guide, and Skull cracks us, we would otherwise be in trouble if we waited. And the nice thing about this play is that we're getting a Goblin Guide activation anyways, and it's unlikely there's going to be 2 lands on top, which would be the benefit of getting both of the Goblin Guide attacks in. Alright, so we want to Snapcaster this Helix. That's a fine draw. We'll oust this, since we can set up engineered explosives for it later. Okay, don't really need any lands, and as far as we know, Goblin Guide isn't gonna draw any for us. Generally, you don't want to scry your lands to the top unless you absolutely know that they're going to be goblin guiding it and drawing it for you, and you need the land, because scrying those to the bottom and scrying 2 lands to the bottom when we don't need lands is good, because there could just be another land on top which we would want the goblin guide to hit, and having an extra land is not that good in this matchup usually. Once we already have like 5, we should be able to get up to colonnade mana pretty easily. Alright, so opponent can pop this relic, hit us with Goblin Guide. Go ahead and play Wall of Omens. And I think we'll just wait on the explosives. Unfortunately, our Snapcaster plan is not nearly as good anymore. So if our opponent attacks, we're obviously blocking, and we're gonna wait to fetch, but they're not taking the bait. Let's just do this for 1. Downside would be Eidolon. Upside is that now we can control the relic a little bit better and prevent double goblin guides from hitting us. So next turn we'll have the mana to explode the explosives and in response cast Snapcaster Mage on Lightning Helix. Explode the explosives. Opponent is starting to reach the point where they can have almost enough burn to kill us, in theory. That's a bit of an issue. Alright, so the plan now since our opponent is going to pop this relic, is to start hitting face with Colonnade. Okay. The question is, do we want to play this snap as well? Yeah, let's do it. even though we're behind 10 life points, being able to hit for 4 every turn without taking any damage is pretty huge. Our opponent's best bet is lightning helixes. It's always a joy to lock the opponent out of the game with their own Eidolon. Always a joy. Always a pleasure. We might not be able to do that this game though. They had a pretty big life total lead. They have approximately 9 points of burn in hand, if all those are 3 points of burn. And then they take 6 from that. Okay. I might just try and kill our colonnade, which is amazing for us as well. Colonnade's soaking up 6 points of burn. Alright, Tectonic Edge isn't really accomplishing much. It's probably better on our side of the board rather than blowing up a land. Exquisite Firecraft can't be countered. If there are 2 instants or sorceries in the graveyard. I don't think we use this. Okay, Cryptic is interesting. Put our opponent to 9. I think that's what we're doing. We just died a triple lava spike here. But I think this is the correct play. I could use Tech Edge. Or leave up Electrolyze. So if our opponent goes down to 7, attempts to cast 3 spells, we can kill them. So I think we leave up Electrolyze. In the assumption that they won't have a bunch of 1-drops. Alright, so Lightning Helix basically foils our plans of winning this turn. Otherwise, I think we beat just triple burn spell because or maybe not. Because we would take 3 anyways. Alright, there's an Oust, which is pretty good. Opponent's attacking, which is also a great sign. I think we want to leave the Eidolon. All right, do we win? So opponent goes lightning bolt, lightning bolt. They go down to yeah. I don't think we can win with Electrolyze because we'll kill ourselves with Eidolons on the board, which means let's just pop this and be able to hit for 4 next turn and guarantee lethal if our opponent doesn't kill us this turn. Alright. Helix puts him up to 8, only taking 6. Alright, no Helix. We got a Eidolon for the win. The power of Wall of Omens blanking Eidolon is excellent.